Well, I think this resolution shows that the city of The Hague, we have full support to the prosecution, investigation, and then prosecution of the war crimes committed in the Ukrainian war, this war of aggression by Russia that has been going on for almost a year now. And what we as a city want to say is that these crimes should be punished. It's a moral obligation that we have to help to bring to justice whoever committed any war crimes. And from The Hague, we are the city of peace and justice. So we feel we should help by accommodating this tribunal in The Hague, and that the city government should start to help preparations to bring to justice the war criminals from this war. Well, we asked the city government, as the city council, almost the entire city council voted in favor of my resolution. And we have asked the city government to start, first of all, to give full support to the initiative that the Dutch government has to host this tribunal in the Netherlands, in The Hague. And then second of all, to start preparations so that we can do whatever we can to make room also in a physical sense in the city for such a tribunal. And we feel that we have to do everything we can so that as soon as on the international level it has been established, the tribunal has been established, that we are ready in The Hague to actually hold the trials and of course the investigations that are necessary before we can hold the trials. Yes, we are very proud of being the international city for peace and justice. We have been for over 100 years since the Peace Palace has opened in 1899. With the first conference on peace that was held in The Hague. And we are currently home to, as you said, the ICC, International Criminal Court, but also the special tribunals for Yugoslavia and for Rwanda. So we have a lot of experience and expertise in international justice in The Hague, a lot of people who have a lot of knowledge, but also of the infrastructure that is necessary to hold such really large investigations and eventually trials. And we think we can help because we have this infrastructure and we have this expertise. So we think it will be easier to set up a court from The Hague. And we think that we should use everything we have learned from the tribunals that have been held here in the past 30 years. That we should use that knowledge to also help bring the criminals to justice from the Ukrainian war. Yes, definitely. For us, it's of course it's a huge tragedy. The MH17 is we lost a lot of countrymen in that plane crash, in that attack on that plane. But I think that it has established worldwide outrage against this action. But of course, it's very difficult to say it has a direct line with what's currently happening in Ukraine, and that's a crime of an entirely different scope, I would say. As now, actually, Russia has entered a sovereign nation, Ukraine. And is imposing its terror upon the civilians and, of course, the entire country. So I do feel that there's, of course, a strong connection between this Dutch tragedy as it happened in Ukraine. But I would not personally see a connection with the war that's currently going on, because that's such a different scale that we're talking about. I think it's very important, and I think that also under the Dutch citizens, there's a lot of support for Ukraine in this war. I think most people in the Netherlands see the crime of aggression that Russia has imposed for over a year now. We have welcomed refugees from Ukraine with open arms, also in The Hague. We have well over 3,000 Ukrainians living in the city, and we're trying to do anything we can to make them feel welcome. And I feel we should do that because we have to help each other in situations like these. And then, of course, it's very important for me that the Dutch government is also supporting Ukraine with weapons and also with this the setting up of the tribunal and the investigation of the war crimes that's already going on, because of course there's a lot of work being done in Ukraine right now to gather evidence to make sure that we can actually prosecute any atrocity that has been committed in this war. For me, it's very important. It has to be set up with a lot of international support. So it's important that the EU, the European Commission, will take the initiative and gather support in UN on the level of the UN to actually be able to set up this tribunal. And then for me as a politician, of course, it's very important that crimes like the crime of aggression by Russia, but also the single crimes committed, every single crime. I think there have been around 60,000 reports of war crimes right now, if it's not more already. They should all be investigated, and whatever actually happened has to be prosecuted. People have to be brought to justice, because the entire world has to know that we do not tolerate such aggression and we do not tolerate these atrocities in this modern and civilized world we live in. So it's a very important example also for any other nation and any other army that is active, that we as an international community, we will stand up to this, and we'll make sure that people who break our rules and our laws will be punished. Now, of course, I am a local politician, I'm not in any debates with our minister about this. On our local level, we're definitely committed to this cause, and I know that the Dutch government is also very committed to, of course, help whatever way we can to make sure that there will be peace as soon as possible on Ukrainian terms, as our prime minister has said, and will say over and over again. And then, of course, to have this our I would say unending support for the Ukrainian in military sense, and also to set up this tribunal. But as for the peace talks themselves, that's really not my expertise as a local politician in the city of The Hague. No, I'm afraid that will not be possible due to the international law. It has to be a special tribunal, so that's why it's so important that the international community will give its support to set up this tribunal. And that's the international treaties that we have worldwide say that we do need such a special tribunal. So our local courts cannot do anything, but as I said before, we have the ICC and we have the special tribunals for Yugoslavia and Rwanda. And of course, we can use all the knowledge that we have with those international courts, and we can use that to make it easier to create this special tribunal for the war crimes committed in Ukraine. Definitely. I must say that a lot of them are also being housed by by regular citizens. So a lot of regular citizens in The Hague are also helping refugees and other organizations. And then the city government is also providing a home and food, of course. And some of the basic costs for living for some, I think, over 1,000 refugees at this moment. Well, first of all, I hope it comes really fast because your country has been under attack for so long, and I can't imagine how it must feel. It must be uh, every Ukrainian's wish that this war ends with Ukrainian victory, but as soon as is possible, and that's what we should be fighting for, and that's what the entire international community should support a Ukrainian right now. That's my strongest feeling. And then, of course, there's so much to rebuild, and that will also be something that the entire world should really help Ukraine with.